time to give this performance the attention it deserves and go with an in-depth analysis. Particularly, we're focusing on this first round, and then we're going to move on and look at some other rounds. Then we're going to look at other fighters and other sports and stuff as we go on. Let's get straight into it. But before we do, if you like the video, like. If you want to get more, then subscribe. Simple. Let's go. So immediately when they come and they close the distance, INOUE is throwing out this flicking probe, and normally those are used to gauge distance, but I think he's really trying to gauge reactions, and we'll see why later. Now, the feint game is really important in INOUE reading his opponent's reactions and determining how he wants to enact his game plan. So this level change feint is real subtle. He drops down, and if what does Fulton do? He pulls back a little bit, but he's still stationary. He's still in front of INOUE, so that lets him know, okay, I can initiate the game plan. It gives him a green light. And after he does that level change feint, he starts backing up, and Fulton starts following him. When he does, now Fulton's on the front foot, so when INOUE wants to throw this jab to the body, Fulton can't pull back as easily because he's coming forward. So that level change feint told him, okay, he's not reacting too well, I could throw that shot, and then he makes him come in so that he sets up the shot. This subtle move here, boom, that's another read. He's like, okay, he's not reacting. When I get low, he's not reacting. Then he puts out that probe. Fulton's attention's back up top. When his attention's up top, he gets that little feint in and then does it again, jab to the body. So now Fulton is aware that INOUE is trying to invade his space. And so whenever INOUE tries to close the distance, which that was a feint, by the way, which is a part of the game, Fulton is like, boom, whenever he senses any forward pressure, he's trying to jab, keep him at range. And so INOUE is trying to mix in entry feints. He's trying to feint like he's stepping in. For example, this move, boom, gets that reaction out of Fulton. Fulton doesn't know when INOUE is coming into range because he's faking back and forth when he really is. And now that probe is going to return, and look at what it's doing. It's pushing Fulton back. The probe returns. Fulton doesn't react that time, and then he swings it around. He gets a big reaction out of Fulton. So these are all possible reads. Okay, so he's reacting to the jab. Sometimes he's reacting heavy to the left hook. So when Fulton feels INOUE turning up the pressure, invading his space, Fulton is going to get out of this wide-legged bladed stance, and he's going square so that he can laterally move. But when he does, that's when INOUE triggers that jab to the body, because now he has a bigger target. Again, it's these subtle feints. That lead hand raises up, no reaction from Fulton. So that tells INOUE, okay, I could try the jab. And Fulton just barely pulls back. As he's pulling back, he's looking for a check hook, but INOUE doesn't fully commit, so he doesn't fall into it. And now Fulton is back trying to move laterally. But as he does, INOUE tries to cut him off with that right hook. But Fulton has a great defense and a tight guard to protect himself. Now this is a great moment for a couple reasons. Boom, this jab exchange. It's super fast, but the reason why INOUE wins, they both take an inside step when they throw the jab. So both of them step inside, but INOUE does this slight head off the center line move. His head just slightly gets off the center line, and so Fulton falls face first into INOUE's jab, while INOUE just barely gets grazed by Fulton's. So Fulton is using these soft feints, and then he's going to do a more committed feint to get these reactions out of INOUE so he can throw his real jab. And when he throws the jab, INOUE bounces back, but uses that momentum to pendulum in and throw some offense back. But then again, like I said, Fulton's defense is tight. So now this level change feint is getting big reactions out of Fulton. That means that he can't just rely on that jab to the body without a setup, or the jab up top feint. So he's now building a rhythm. He feinted that other time, he just feinted right there, and now the next time he throws a real jab, it's disguised by those previous feints. The reaction to feints is key. Level change feint. Fulton kind of gives a little bit of reaction, but not too much of one. Then his guard widens out and goes away from his body, so the next time he level changes, there's that opening there. It's another green light. This is a classic pull counter position. So he's low and bent over, so his head is a clear target for a jab or any piece of offense. But the thing is, he can pull that weight back very easily, and when he does, his opponent can overextend. He can come over top. We can see that in action here. He's leaned over, and then he just slightly pulls back. That he brings that target away from Fulton. Fulton kind of overextends and he looks for that counter. Doesn't really land super clean, but the intent is there. And back when this fight happened, there was a lot of conversation about fighters being out of character and not looking how we're used to seeing them looking, particularly around Errol Spence. But there was also talk about Fulton. What you got to think about is when you have somebody who's known for their accuracy, known for getting their way, controlling the fight. When you have somebody like Fulton whose jab is his greatest weapon, and he's missing his jab constantly, now he's in an uncomfortable situation. He's in uncharted territory where he has to deal with things he's never really dealt with before. And so of course you're going to see somebody be brought out of character when they're being counterpunched, when they're being set up, when they're usually the one setting traps. They're usually the one winning the jab battle, but now it's the opposite. And so you got to think about that as we progress through this fight analysis and look at the hesitation start to build in Fulton. All right, that's it for round one. We'll look at some other rounds. We'll also drop some videos on completely different subjects, completely different fighters, completely different sports, because that's what we do here in the lab. Immortality Serum out.